When we talk about American power, we usually talk about aircraft carriers. We talk about stealth bombers, military bases, and nuclear arsenals. But the greatest weapon in the United States arsenal doesn't fire bullets. It doesn't drop bombs. It's printed on a piece of paper, the US dollar. For half a century, it has been the absolute gravity of the global economy. If you wanted to buy oil, you needed dollars. If you were managing international trade between two countries that had nothing to do with America, you still settled the invoice in dollars. It gave Washington the ultimate cheat code, the ability to print endless amounts of money and export the inflation to the rest of the world. But a couple of years ago, a 50-year-old contract quietly expired, and the world barely noticed. Saudi Arabia decided not to renew the historic Petrodollar agreement with the United States. Today on the World Files, we are looking at the silent collapse of the American empire's ultimate weapon. The de-dollarization of the world isn't a conspiracy theory anymore. It's happening right now. To understand why this is a geopolitical earthquake, we have to go back to 1974. The US had just decoupled the dollar from gold. The currency was free-floating, vulnerable, and inflation was raging. Washington needed a new anchor. So, Secretary of State Henry Kissinger flew to Saudi Arabia and made a deal that would change human history. The US promised military protection and weapons to the Saudi royal family. In exchange, the Saudis agreed to do one thing: price all of their oil exports exclusively in US dollars. Think about the brilliance of this. Every country on Earth needs oil to survive. Because of this handshake, every country suddenly needed dollars. Japan, Germany, Brazil, if they wanted energy, they had to buy dollars first. This artificial global demand meant the US could run massive deficits, build the biggest military on Earth, and live far beyond its means because the rest of the world was financing it. This was the era of the petrodollar. Fast forward to today. The geopolitical tectonic plates have shifted. The US is no longer the undisputed only buyer in town. They are actually a net exporter of oil. The biggest customer for Saudi oil is now China. And Beijing has a very simple question. If we are the ones buying your oil, and we are the ones manufacturing your electronics and infrastructure, why are we using the American currency to do it? We are witnessing a fundamental rewiring of international trade. It started slowly, but the sanctions against Russia in 2022 were the catalyst. When the US weaponized the dollar, freezing hundreds of billions in Russian reserves, the rest of the world took notes. They realized that holding your wealth in dollars is a massive geopolitical risk. Now Saudi Arabia is open to selling oil in Chinese yuan. India is buying energy in rupees. The BRICS nations are actively building alternative payment systems to bypass the SWIFT network entirely. The global supply chain is physically decoupling from the American banking system. So what happens when the world stops needing so many dollars? This is where the macroeconomics get terrifying for the American consumer. For decades, the US government has been issuing trillions in debt to fund its operations, and foreign central banks eagerly bought it up. But if global trade shifts away from the dollar, that foreign demand dries up. If China, Saudi Arabia, and Japan stop buying US Treasury bonds, who funds the American deficit? The answer: the Federal Reserve has to print the money to buy its own debt. And we all know how that ends. It ends with a brutal, sticky inflation that destroys the purchasing power of the middle class. The cheat code is glitching. America will finally have to pay for its own inflation instead of exporting it. The collapse of the dollar won't look like a Hollywood movie. It won't happen overnight. It's a slow bleed. It's a gradual loss of privilege. The end of the petrodollar agreement doesn't mean the greenback becomes worthless tomorrow. It means the world is fracturing. We are moving from a unipolar world ruled by one currency into a fragmented, multipolar reality where international trade is a complex web of regional currencies and raw resources. The United States spent 50 years enjoying an exorbitant privilege. But the bill is finally coming due, and the rest of the world is refusing to pay it. If you want to understand where the global economy is heading, you have to watch the money, not the politicians. Thanks for watching The World Files. Hit subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments, and stay in pursuit of the truth. I'll see you in the next file.